Hello, I'm Malcolm West from Project in a Box, and welcome to this Project in a Box video session. Today we're going to be looking through the features in the new version 5.4. So this is the feature list. We're going to talk about them briefly and then show you around each one live in the applications. So first is file preview in the Windows app. It's been a popular part of the browser app for a little while, and we've added that, retrofitted that to the Windows app now. Quick type additions to planner plans. So the planner application allows you to quickly load in new tasks to your plan or copy and paste in large amounts of data. That's the app, and it's also now available in the browser version of the planner interface as well, that you can access through the browser interface. We've added quite an extensive set of new admin forms to the browser app. We've always had the view that you do day-to-day things in the browser, and that includes day-to-day admin. We haven't included the full set of admin forms from the Windows app, but certainly an extensive new set of those, managing all the views, being able to do your own more custom analysis in the browser now, rather than just picking a pre-configured view. Value panels with conditional coloring. So value panels are part of the trend analysis. They allow you to compare data between 2 points and to display that in panels. The background color did used to be fixed, and it's now conditional. It can be conditional based on the content of the data in the current property value. And so you can use that to change the panels backgrounds, of course, to match the data, and we'll have a look at some examples of that. And finally, a new status report which actually picks up on the conditional colouring of value panels as well. Okay, so let's go and have a look at some of that happening in the system. So first thing we're going to have a look at is the file preview in the Windows app. So we're in the Windows app here, and as we progress down into the process, we've got our basic and advanced panels on the right hand side. Obviously when we're in document level we get document type features, but when we come down to a particular file level we now see the preview here. We put this in the browser initially because in the browser often, for example, when you're on a phone, you might not have something for viewing, for example, Word files, and so the preview here allowed you to view them on whichever device you were on. But actually this is also nice and clean here for users not having to have files popping up all over the place. You can get your very quick read of that file. If all you want to do is read it, you don't have to open it in something else. You can just scan down and read the contents of the current version of the file. So it's really nice and easy, and as with the browser, it supports the core file types that most people tend to use in their projects, which would be Word, Excel, PDFs, images, emails, Project in a Box type file types like PABX and SPN, and it'll support links through to websites as well. So it's really quite a useful thing. Here we've got an email as well. We can read the contents of that email. So we're not having to, for example, fire up Outlook or whatever our email application is to see that. We can just read it straight away off here. Obviously, if we want to work on things, we check them out, they open in the associated application. But this also helps with a common problem where people are using Word templates and Word files, is when you open it to view it, it opens in Word, and of course Word is inherently editable, so people can start editing the one they're supposed to be reading. This way we're encouraging people, if you just want to read it, then you can just read it here. If you want to edit it, then you check it out and edit it, and there's then a very clear distinction between those two different approaches. Okay, so that's that. While we're here, we'll just have a quick look at the additions to planner plans, the quick type. So if I come and find my plan here and check it out, you'll see in the menu here I've got quick type for tasks, and that allows me to drop some content into here. I can type straight in if I want to, so I could do a new task, like that, and we say 10 days, and it'll set that up for me, and I can then do a next task, 20 days with a comma, 20 days, like that, and I can set up my content, but I can also paste in. So sometimes you get a task list, somebody's written a task list down in a file, and you can just simply copy it. So I bring it to here and paste it in. You'll see I can bring all that, and actually if you put it tabs in here or indents, then you get it grouping things as well. So it's really quite a sophisticated little thing, and we've found it very useful for loading large sets of customer data into a plan. Obviously you go back through later on and assign your resources and do all those other things, but very quickly pulling a plan together, this is a really neat way of doing it. No really other planning applications support this sort of quick dropping in of content like this. So we can do that in the Planner app itself, and we've had a Planner app available for several months that will do that if you want to. But we can also do that in the browser interface. So I'm going to come to the browser interface, and we'll go and find our project here, the same project actually. And when I come and use, of course, preview, we've got a preview of files like we were talking about in the Windows application. But when I come to edit in Planner, come to tasks, you'll see I've got quick type tasks here again, and I can do exactly the same thing we just did a minute ago, and it'll load through that content for me. We've got loads of different options in here about exactly what we put in and the formats that we use. So if I use a comma separator instead, then that'll pick up my durations for me here. So because loading from different places, you can have different sorts of formats, and we can do add it to the end of the plan, or add it where you are in the middle of the plan, or replace the entire existing plan. So you've got a range of options to enable you to set that content up and drop it into the middle of your plan. Really easy, and like I say, doing exactly the same thing in the browser interface as we were doing on the Windows app. And we're doing this to encourage more and more people to use the browser interface, and the Windows application sort of falls back a little bit to be a core administrator type tool. Okay, so I'm not going to bother with making those changes there. And next we're going to talk about the new admin forms in the browser interface. So we'll come back to some point in our project, and when I come up to menu here, there's a number of new items added to the menu about managing views and project property views, and also project control notifications. But fundamentally, we've also added the views into a range of these other forms in controls here, and other places like select a project. So we're just going to come back and have a look at that in a sort of stepwise way. So if I close that menu down, and we'll do select project. So here we've got something very similar to what we had before, which is the projects in my current portfolio. And we used to be able to select a view from a pick list. Now we've gone here, we've taken this more like it is in the Windows application, where yes, you're encouraged to load a standard view. So I can come here, and you'll notice it's, when I'm dealing with views, it's opened on a separate tab here. So I can load one of the standard views, so for example performance, like that, and when I come back to here and refresh, it's going to give me the performance view, whatever that data set happens to be. So I'm still able to pick the standard list, but what I can do now is I can also edit the view. It'll use that second tab again, and it gives me all the same abilities to edit the view that I have on the Windows app. So I can choose which columns I'm going to have in my data. I can switch some of them off if I want to. I can choose to add new ones. If I do add new, I can come and get my column from all the set of available data property fields in the database, choose which one I want, and then I can set it up with things like color tables, and change the ordering around, and decide about totals and all those other sorts of things, chart options to go with it, and exactly the same content that is in the Windows application. So it's quite a complicated form. There's a lot to it, a lot you can do with views, which is why we've put it into a separate tab rather than just trying to floated over the top in a little box. And you can always keep coming to and fro from those. So that's the way working with those views now is. You don't pick them here. You either go into load or edit, which opens in a separate tab alongside. So if we're down in our project, we come and open our project again, and I'm interested in my plan, risk, issue, resource type views, I come here, and again I get the one that's offered to me first up. But then again, I've got this ability to load, edit, and refresh. So I can edit my task view here if I want to. When I do edit, you'll see it opens in the general form, so I can start switching off bits of analysis or changing formats here. If I'd have selected the load, it would have opened in the load side, so I could choose an existing one, or I could edit the one that I want to create. And then of course when I'm ready, I can also then save these. So we used to have to go to the Windows application to do that. We could create a new view using exactly the same sort of content and then save it back into the standard list. But now if I've got enough permissions levels, I can do that here in the browser as well. So this is giving me the ability to completely customize the analysis. I can choose which columns I want to display for my data here, the color schemes I want to use, the filters logic that I'm going to be applying. So in fact, if I go and load one which has got some sort of filter logic in it, so let's do overdue tasks, and we'll see it's got the filters showing here, which control which of the tasks I'm going to see within that display and how they're going to be colored, and which display columns and date range and all the other sorts of things. So it's really quite a powerful extension, this, allowing you to do custom analysis from the browser. Yes, I recognize if you're on your phone, you might find all that a bit much to do in this form, but you can still use the standard views and pick one. But if you have space, here on my laptop I've got a pretty good screen, I can set that up and create the views that I want. And that's a case, available for task, risks, issues, resources. And it's also available for two new analyses as well, which are running from the plan set in Project Controls. And those are calendar and milestones. So these are ones that we've had in the Windows application for a while, and we're just retrofitting those to the browser. So you'll see they use the same view, so that view is held through. So if I go back to load view, obviously it loads in the second tab again, and I can come back and go to default, refresh that, and now you see I've taken the filter off, so I'm seeing all the tasks in my project plan displayed as a milestone timeline. So this piece of analysis you can get into your reports as well, but it's just a different way of thinking about the key things that are happening in the project. We've also got calendar view, which allows me to see the work that's going on in my project as a calendar activity rather than as a Gantt chart type activity. And these are clickable items, so I can dive in and see what's going on at that particular point, what that particular activity is. So this one's training, and I can see who might be involved in it and all the other information about it just by clicking on it here. So those two types are available. You can see we've got views in all of these, and in fact the property view as well, as I mentioned, from Select Project. And you can actually access that directly in the menu as well if you want to. So that's down here, Project Property View. The other thing we've added here is Project Control Notifications. So Project Control Notifications allows you to set up rules which are then acted upon to create and send emails to users in the system about Project Control's content. So some examples of that might be, we might want to run a rule which tells us about significant issues on the project. Once these rules are set up and active, and we can see this one is, it's using a few individual rules to say, find any issues with a priority value of greater than 6, and for particular projects, where there's a particular project name, and the issue is open. So if you've got open high priority issues on your project, it'll tell you about them, and it will tell me about them, and also the people assigned to those issues about them. And this is running, this normally runs every day. So every morning I'm going to get an email with things I need to know about. Any issues on that list that are not yet under action, that are just identified and open, will be appearing on that list for me as a constant reminder. Same with high value risks, which have just been added to the project. And same with any tasks that are overdue or any tasks that are nearing completion, I'll be reminded about. So we can set up all these different rules based on task risks and issues, using the sort of conditions that apply to each of those, and then the server will actively send emails to the identified recipients about that. So this is really useful. You can set these up, of course, in the Windows application. This form already exists there, but this is about extending the day-to-day admin capabilities of the browser. So this is something that you might want to do for yourself rather than asking an admin to do it on the Windows app. So those are really very useful forms and capabilities. The next thing we're going to talk about is value panels for conditional colouring. And we can look at that in both the Windows app and the browser again. So let's go and have a look in the Windows app first of all. So I'm going to come and run my project report, which we'll do here. And so this is the new status report that we were mentioning about, and it leads with a very clear bank of project statuses. They'll either be green, amber, stroke orange, or red to indicate how those different aspects of the project are progressing. Now you can see how some of those might work because you've got a direct match. You've got a task status which is red, amber, or green already, and depending on which one of those it is, we then give that background colour green, amber, or red. Others, though, are going to be numeric. So we've got the amount of benefits delivered on this project, which has some bands and gives some colour based on the bands of the value. So it fills in those various spaces. We're going to change one of those in a minute and see so we can see the change happen in the report. And this report then goes through to provide other bits of analysis, and this is a generally 2/3 page report. We commonly have the project statement, which is often 1 page, or the weekly review, which is often 10 pages. And so this is a sort of intermediate report which dives into a bit more detail, but we've got a sort of front screen which enables us to get a very good feel for where the project is right now and where it was a month ago. So it's always showing us the current value and then where it was a month ago. So has it changed at all? And if so, has it gone up or down? And the colour will reflect the current value or status of it. So it's got a few extra things in than the project statement has, of course, which is why it's a bit longer. So we've got a benefits list, for example. We've got top 10 risks and issues, overdue tasks, financial summary of the project, as well as the timeline and risk matrix and other such things. So those things are being controlled, but as I said, as trend analysis items. So if I come down and look at the benefits delivered one. So this is a value panel, and we're not giving it a mandatory colour. The colour is based instead on the value map for this property. So here's the value map, and we can see that we've got 3 different colours, and the colour is shown into the report based on the number range in this case. So if we've got something which is between 100,000 and 1 million, we get an orange colour, and that's the way that works. And if it's up to 100,000, we get a red colour, and if it's beyond 1 million, we get a green colour. And those will work for each of the properties. So a more straightforward one might be the task status. So if we look at that one, we'll see its value map is pretty straightforward. If the input text, the status for task, says green, then we give it a green colour. If it says amber, then we give it an orange colour. And if it says red, we give it a red colour. Very simple, direct mapping. And of course, if nothing is set, if no item is set, in the number ranges one, we're generally going to get something that matches a number range. But here perhaps no status has been set yet. And if no status has been set for this plan, then it will default to the set color, which is silver. So it'll stand out immediately that one hasn't been set yet. And we'll get a little silver stroke grey box rather than one of our colored boxes. So this obviously gives you quite a lot of control over those value panels, and that hasn't changed actually. This has always been here. Being able to change the size of them, the color of the text, the size of the text, the location, comments you put on it, all those other sorts of things. But what has changed is the ability to force the background color based on the contents of the property that you're looking at. And we think that'll be really useful for people into reporting, and obviously providing the status report helps in demonstrating that, so you can see something to play with yourself. Okay, so that's that. Of course, the same thing works in the browser interface as well. So if I come back to my project navigation, do other reports, and I could run exactly that same status report here, and we'll get the same content produced for us. There we go. But I can, of course, it's a trend type of view, so I can come to my trend here, and again, just like with the other views and so the property views and the task risk issue type views, I can also do the same thing here, and I can come and edit my trend analysis, and that was going to include the value map information we talked about, and the value panel, and all that same content. So exactly the same things can be done again in the browser as in the Windows application. Okay, so that's the run through of those features. Let's just jump back quickly to the PowerPoint. So all this new functionality is available from today for customers with an active maintenance contract in place. So many of our customers have bought our multi-user platform, and they pay ongoing maintenance to have technical support, of course, but also access to all the latest updates that we put out. So this is one of those. You'll be able to download the patch installers and apply this to your server straight away. Existing customers who haven't renewed their maintenance can pay a fee to put that back in place and have access to this. All new customers, of course, will get this new version 5.4 as their starting point. And our hosted SaaS customers, so those people using Live Edition where we host it for them, we will upgrade that on request. We don't force everybody to upgrade at the same time. We can allow you to choose your own timing to do that. And this requires a patch to both server and clients, although increasingly this means that more people will use the browser, and therefore the patch to the server automatically rolls out to everybody when they log in again from the browser. It'll also require a patch to client installers, but less and less people will be using that. Typically that's only the sort of full level administrators of the system that might still be using the Windows application. Okay, I hope you found that helpful, and if you have any further questions, do contact us to let us know. Thank you very much.